Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. I'm going to read through the majority of the article here. There is a link in the description. It is an absolute tragedy. There will be details concerning the suffering of the young boy that you see in front of you, so I will put in place a full-blown trigger warning. The young boy that you see in front of you, his name is, or rather was, Emrik Osuna, and he was killed at the hands of his father as well as his stepmother, two scumbags. And he was tortured, he was starved, he died weighing only 44 pounds. Within the article it says 41 pounds. His death occurred in September 2020, so a fair while ago. And the reason why we're looking at the details today is because the stepmother from Idaho has been convicted of torturing and abusing young Emrik Osuna, torturing and abusing him to death. She's been sentenced. She actually accepted a plea deal which allowed her to avoid the death penalty. But what she has accepted, or what she has been sentenced, is life in prison without the possibility of parole. I personally prefer the death penalty. I think these child murderers, the stepmother, the father in this case, both of them, are absolute pieces of shit, a stain on humanity. There's no benefit to humanity. There's no benefit to society to still have them on this planet. I personally would remove them if it were up to me. Having said that, life in prison without the opportunity for parole, I would say, is the second best option. So I would be pleased with that. The father also took a similar plea deal. His sentencing is to take place on Friday. So that could have actually been today. It's Saturday in Australia, so perhaps that's even today. I believe I'm right in saying that it's expected that he too will receive the same sentence, life in prison without the opportunity for parole. He too will avoid the death penalty by way of fact that he has entered a plea deal. That's my understanding. I could possibly be wrong. But in any case, for sure, the stepmother, whose name is Emrik Osuna, 29 years of age, she most definitely has been sentenced at this point to life in prison without the possibility of parole in connection with the verbal, emotional, and physical abuse that she inflicted on young Emrik Osuna, the 9-year-old, her stepson, who tragically died in September 2020. So I am going to read through some of the details, which is going to be pretty gruesome, pretty grim. It's going to list details of the injuries that he suffered. So we're going to have a look at that. The reason why we're looking at that is we want to have an awareness of the horrors that these absolute scumbags are able to inflict. We're not able to do that. We just couldn't. It's impossible for us to. But seemingly there are scumbags out there that are driven to hurl this abuse and torture to their own children. So the scumbag stepmother, Emrik Osuna, pleaded guilty to murdering the boy, Emrik Osuna, under a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. The husband, Emrik Osuna, took the same deal. His sentencing is due to occur Friday, so that's today in America, I believe. Prosecutors argued that the parents violently abused young Emrik, showing autopsy photographs of dark bruising all over his body, including on his arms, thighs, buttocks, and genital area. At the time of Emmerik's death, he had been starved to just 41 pounds. 41 pounds for a 9-year-old. The pediatrician testified he was wasted skin and bones in appearance. Can you imagine 41 pounds for a 9-year-old? I mean, that's horrific. You know, we've seen images. I can't think of the right words, but we've seen images of the Jews in the concentration camps and other images of other prisoners of war and such being starved, where they are just skeletal. £41 for a 9-year-old. The abuse was recorded on nanny cameras that were installed in the home in Meridian, Idaho. The horrific footage documents the abuse exacted by the scumbag stepmother, Emrik Osuna, who was recorded yelling swear words at young Emrik as he was forced to undergo hours of exercise. So that's something, again, I keep mentioning this. This is a reoccurring theme. Arthur Labinjo Hughes springs to mind, but there are many other cases like this. Perhaps particularly when it's a boy that's been abused and tortured. I think I'm right in saying that. Particularly when it's a boy. They're forced to do outrageous levels of physical exercise. Which includes standing for hours or even days. It includes like sitting against the wall, like leaning against the wall in a sitting fashion, which would put a strain on the lower parts of your body, I believe. And all kinds of physical exercise, burpees, running on the spot, whatever it happens to be, star jumps. This is a common thread. This is a reoccurring theme that these scumbag sickos, these typically parents, guardians, force their children that they abuse and torture, force them to do hours upon hours of physical exercise as a form of torture. Maybe because there's a pretense. Maybe the within their own mind, the sicko parent, the sicko guardian's able to pretend to themselves that they're doing a good thing. Exercise is good. Thereby, they're being a good parent in that matter. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of the mental gymnastics that these sickos have to go through. But I feel that I'm probably touching on something there, probably touching on a valid point. Why else would these parents do this? I mean, the other reason would be for the sadistic satisfaction to see their children suffer, to see them do something so unpleasant and painful. It's not just a chore doing a little bit of exercise. This is putting them through pain, physical pain, doing their young bodies permanent damage, causing their death. One heartbreaking clip reportedly shows Emrik, the 9-year-old boy, being forced to exercise in the early morning hours when he abruptly stopped and asked God why he was being abused. Here's a quote from one of the police detectives. He starts crying. That was one of the most significant instances that affected me. As he's talking to God, you can see the scumbag stepmother in the background, and she sneaks up to where she's hiding behind the counter, listening to him. That affected me the most, said the police detective. So a lot of this was recorded on their own nanny cams. And the young boy knows that he's being abused. The young boy knows that he's being killed. He's been murdered slowly, tortured to death over the course of months, years. The boy knows it. The boy has a sense as to what's happening. He realizes that his body is withering. He's 41 pounds. He understands that those that ought to be there to love him, to care for him, to nurture him, are actually hell-bent on killing him, hell-bent on destroying him. The scumbag stepmother was also recorded spanking young Emrik using a frying pan, prompting the boy to beg that she stop. She also withholds food from him, even though whilst allowing his siblings to eat. That's a common thread too. I forget the boy's name off the top of my head. The young boy that died in South Wales. Sorry, apologies, I forget his name off the top of my head. But the mother and the stepfather, as well as the other teen that was adopted or fostered into the family home, they would have takeaway night. They would order takeaway. They'd order KFC. And they'd all tuck in to KFC. That was their big treat for the week. Aren't we lucky, guys? Here we are. We're watching a movie. We're watching some Netflix. And we're having chicken and fries, mashed potato, coleslaw. We've got some nuggets. We've got some dip. Oh, isn't this nice? Isn't it really, really tasty? And then the boy that was being tortured is locked in his room, forced to eat Weetabix cereal, dried cereal. You know, it's torture. It's torture. I mean, it's starvation of nutrients, but it's also emotional, psychological torture. Here's a quote which was found on the recordings of the nanny cam from the stepmother saying, "You are on my shit list for the rest of your life." In another clip, the stepmother tells Emrik to eat something from the floor and then asks him if he's hungry. "Oh, are you hungry?" What a fucking evil piece of shit. It's like something out of I'll say a Disney movie, but you know, just pure evil, just a caricature of an evil person, caricature of a witch. The boy said in response, "But Mom, I don't want to starve to death." He knew that he was dying. He knew that he was going to die. One of the investigators testified that the family's pets were treated better than Emrik. He ate out of the garbage can or dog food. When he was caught, his parents would beat him, said one of the investigators. The scumbag parents forced Emrik to clean the floors with a toothbrush, drink dirty water out of a cleaning bowl, and he was forced to sleep on the floor without blankets or a pillow. Emrik never resisted the abuse. Instead, he compliantly responded by saying sorry or yes, Mom. The boy's father could often be seen ignoring the abuse, encouraging it, or participating in it. And that's a bit of a recurring theme as well. It does remind me again of Arthur Lubin Joe Hughes. It's come up in other cases too, but I tend to remember quite a bit from Arthur Lubin Joe Hughes' case, whereby, if I recall, I may have this slightly wrong, but the father often stood back. I think I'm right in saying the father often stood back, and the stepmother did a lot of the abuse, but he would encourage it. Same with Star Hobson. The mother would encourage via text messages her psychopathic partner, who was a lesbian. You know, they were a lesbian couple. Star Hobson's mother would encourage the partner to beat Star Hobson. Via text, verbal prompting. Oh, he's gonna get it. She's gonna get it. mutually justifying the abuse. A defense witness testified that the scumbag stepmother had a rough upbringing, witnessed domestic abuse between her parents, and was herself subjected to physical and sexual abuse as a child. I mean, I'm not really going to comment on that other than to say then perhaps it's an indication of the circle of violence, the circle of these kind of tragedies. But that, of course, in no way excuses her behavior, her horrific torture of the child that she was the stepmother of. If it's worth anything, the article tells us that the stepmother is sorry, that she has said he didn't deserve any of that. He deserves so much more, and I hope for the rest of my life I'll be sorry for my wrongful actions. So there's a degree of remorse from the stepmother. Does that mean anything? To me, no, it doesn't. To me, look, I did grow up a Christian. I understand the notion of forgiveness. I've always been aware of the notion of forgiveness. It's not a foreign concept to me. I grew up a Christian, a Catholic. But I think I'm right in saying that I've had a grievance with the concept of forgiveness for a very long time. Can't remember if that stems from childhood, but certainly from early adulthood. Forgiveness, it just seems like giving people a pass. And it doesn't seem appropriate to me because in my experience with my eyes open as an adult, I just see people doing the same fucking thing time and time again. Oh, sorry about that. Won't happen again. Oh, I shouldn't have done that, should I? No, that was my bad. I won't do that again. Lo and behold, they do it again. Even if, they do the bad behavior towards somebody else. They find themselves a new victim. Forgiveness, I don't know, it's a gift and it shouldn't be given out lightly is kind of my view. And I've looked into it quite a bit, and I know a lot of people say, hey, look, you don't forgive for the benefit of the wrongdoer, you forgive for the benefit of yourself, to allow yourself to let go, to stop harboring ill feelings towards anyone. And with that, you get a relief. And I get that. I do get that. But I think I don't fully get it. Like, I just don't. I don't know. I struggle with the whole concept of forgiveness. And I certainly think it's absolutely valid as an individual and as a society not to forgive certain people in certain situations. If people are genuinely remorseful and they genuinely try to alter their behavior, and if perhaps the wrongdoing isn't entirely heinous, then perhaps there's room for erring towards forgiveness of that person and letting things go and resuming a relationship as if that thing didn't happen. But killing a child, torturing, abusing a child to the point that they die, no, that's not forgivable. That is too far of a transgression for any individual or for society to forgive. So it's just too much of a transgression. It is inexcusable, and with that, it cannot be excused. People say things, oh, that's excusable behaviour, but, we'll let you off this time. Well, no. If it's inexcusable, don't fucking excuse it. Going to wrap things up at this point, guys. So, of course, we pray for the lost soul of 9-year-old Emrik, starved to death. It's another really, really heinous tragedy. It does remind me of the worst cases, such as Arthur Lubin, Joe Hughes, Starr Hobson. It is very reminiscent of those cases. It's terrible. He lost his life in September 2020. The mother has been given a life sentence without parole. I'm happy with that. The father is about to be given the same sentence in all likelihood as of today. I'm happy with that. And I just hope that from time to time, both of these scumbags, the stepmother and the father, get released into general population every now and then, so that the other inmates can have a nice little chat with them both about how those other inmates feel, about how these scumbags treated their own child, having starved them to death, having treated them worse than a dog, having them forced to eat out of the dustbin, eat dog food, eat waste, starved to 41 pounds as a 9-year-old boy, beaten, bruises all over his body, arms, thighs, buttocks, genitals. The father sitting back watching it happen, joining in to an extent. The stepmother just being a vicious, sadistic, evil C-word. Subjecting this boy to, we don't exactly know how long, but months, years of abuse. Whilst the others within the household, his own siblings, are treated just fine, seemingly. I mean, it's physical, emotional, psychological torture. You subjected this boy to treatment that no human should subject any living being to. You know, I wouldn't treat an ant the way that this bitch treated her 9-year-old stepson. So I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. If you do appreciate covering this topic, if I've done a half decent job, I believe I have. I always try to be respectful, and this is a particularly touching story. I fear that there's other details to be found in regards to this case. I fear that it really is as horrific as, well, it is as horrific as the Arthur Labincho Hughes case and other similar cases. It's absolutely awful. If you feel that I've done a half decent job, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. I am able to accept donations. There's a link in the description which provides a link to a donation website called ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com. So, of course, no one's obliged to make a donation, but if you'd like to, that will be very warmly received. Going to wrap things up at this point. I'm going to thank you for your time. I will be making a few more videos today, and then I hope to keep the ball rolling and make similar videos each day around this kind of topic. Some of them are extremely dark. Pretty much all of them are extremely dark, but perhaps a variety of different true crime topics. I'm going to leave you to it for now, and thank you for your time.